My sister claimed she was protecting my baby, but a sealed custody case revealed she had tried to take another child before mine. My sister filed a 12-page co-parenting plan for my son without telling me. She listed herself as the primary guardian. That's when we hired a lawyer. My name's Nathan. I'm 27. I became a dad for the first time last year, and I thought I knew what that would mean. Tired days, proud moments, maybe some panic, but not betrayal from my own blood. I grew up in a mid-sized town in Oregon called Hayden Falls, where image is everything. My parents are local fixtures. My dad chairs 3 neighborhood boards, and my mom has run the church fundraiser since before I could spell donation. Everyone loves them. But behind closed doors, everything's about control. Control and legacy. My older sister, Brenna, is 35 and has always been the golden child. She and her husband Jason tried for nearly a decade to have a child. After multiple IVF rounds, specialists in Portland, and one painful adoption that fell through, they gave up. Brenna spiraled. Every Thanksgiving turned into a memorial for the baby she never had. Meanwhile, I was just figuring out life with my girlfriend, Emily. We'd been together a couple of years, both working retail jobs and living in a modest 2-bedroom rental on the edge of town. When Emily found out she was pregnant, we were stunned, but happy. We moved in together full-time, cut expenses, and started prepping. My parents' reaction? Cold smiles and lectures about tradition. My dad asked if I was ready to be a real man. My mom didn't even look at Emily when we told her. We weren't expecting a celebration, but we also didn't expect to be treated like we'd let them down. Things changed once our son, Jonah, was born. At least, we thought they had. Brenna showed up with a trunk full of baby supplies, clothes, blankets, toys, even unopened bottles. She asked if we had a nursery theme, and when we said no, she offered one. Then a backup, then an entire Pinterest board. It felt more like she was prepping for her own baby than helping with ours. At first, we didn't question it. We were exhausted, and she seemed genuinely excited. But then came the comments. She'd cradle Jonah and whisper things like, "Mama, Brenna's got you," with this strange, proud smile. She started showing up without warning. One afternoon, I came home early and found her inside our house holding Jonah while Emily napped. She'd used a spare key she still had from when our parents owned the place. We changed the locks that night. When we told my parents, they brushed it off, said we were overreacting. Then they offered, out of the blue, to take Jonah for a weekend so we could rest. But the way they said it, it felt rehearsed. Like they weren't offering, they were test driving something. At a family lunch not long after, Brenna picked Jonah up and, right in front of everyone, said, "He feels like the baby I was meant to have." Silence. My mom reached across the table and squeezed her hand like she'd just delivered a eulogy. My dad nodded solemnly, like something sacred had been acknowledged. Emily didn't say a word for the rest of the meal. Her silence was loud. On the way out, my dad pulled me aside and said, "Maybe this baby is meant to heal us. Maybe this is a chance to do something bigger than yourself." That's when the pieces snapped together. This wasn't just grief. It was a plan, a slow, methodical one, disguised as kindness, framed as family. But the goal was always the same: make Jonah theirs. That night, Emily told me something I didn't know. Brenna had cornered her twice during visits, once in the kitchen, once outside, and asked for full custody. Not shared. Full. Said it would fix everything. That we could still be involved, but not burdened. Emily had hoped it was a one-time thing. But it wasn't. And neither was the rest. That night, we made 3 rules. Brenna would never be alone with Jonah again. No drop-ins. No visits unless both of us were present, and it was scheduled in advance. I called my parents. Calm, firm, non-negotiable. My mother hung up mid-sentence. My father came to our door uninvited the next day, guilt tripping me in the hallway. Told me Brenna deserved to be a mother more than I deserved to be a father. I didn't respond. I shut the door. Then I told Emily, we start documenting everything. Because this wasn't just about family anymore. It was about strategy and survival. We thought changing the locks and setting boundaries would cool things down. We were wrong. Brenna showed up again, this time when Emily was home alone. She buzzed the apartment from a number Emily didn't recognize. She had a box of toys and clothes, smiling like she was dropping off birthday gifts. But it wasn't Jonah's birthday. It wasn't anything. Emily stood firm, asked her to leave. Brenna cried, begged, told Emily she was being selfish, That Jonah was hers. She tried to walk past her into the apartment. That's when I pulled into the driveway. I had left work early because Emily wasn't answering my texts. When I saw her standing stiff on the porch with Brenna crying at her feet, I didn't say much. Just walked between them and told Brenna to go home. She left, but her tears felt performative, like she was rehearsing for an audience only she could see. A week later, my parents invited us to dinner. Emily didn't want to go. "It's a setup," she said. She was right. The dining table had extra chairs. Cousins we hadn't seen in months sat waiting. My dad wore a tie. Brenna sat holding a framed photo of Jonah like it was a shrine. Midway through dinner, she stood up and gave a speech. She spoke about her fertility journey like it was a eulogy, about how life had cheated her. My mother nodded beside her, as if at a revival. One of my aunts reached across the table and held her hand. Then someone said, "Maybe there's still a way this can work out for everyone." I stood up, said Jonah wasn't a shared asset. He wasn't a community project. He was our son. We left before dessert. When we got home, Emily had already packed an overnight bag. My cousin had texted her a heads up about the dinner. She didn't want to be in our apartment if anyone showed up. We stayed at a cheap motel off the freeway, curtains drawn, phones on silent. The next morning, we walked into a lawyer's office and dumped everything on his desk, printed texts, screenshots, a list of every uninvited visit, every manipulative comment. He didn't flinch, said we were doing the right thing by getting ahead of it. He told us to document everything, even secondhand messages. Said that in cases like this, families don't de-escalate cleanly. They escalate righteously. The word stuck with me, righteously. They thought they were the heroes, that they were rescuing Jonah from our naivete. We went dark after that, changed our phone numbers, shared them with only 5 people. Everyone else got blocked. Brenna reached us anyway. Emily got a long message from an old college roommate she hadn't spoken to in over a year, full of emotional appeals. Sisterhood. Second chances. Don't rob Brenna of her dream. We blocked her immediately. Then I got an email from a new address. It wasn't a message. It was a document. A professionally formatted PDF titled Jonah Co-Parenting Proposal. It had bullet points, color-coded weekends, holiday rotations, and, get this, trial guardianship clauses. It read like a business deal, like we were negotiating over a condo, not a child. It wasn't just signed by my mother. It was notarized. We didn't respond. We printed it, time-stamped it, and handed it to the lawyer. The file folder was already 2 inches thick. Emily's parents came over the next day. They saw the duffel bag by the door, the motion-activated camera near the window, the way we flinched at unexpected knocks. After dinner, her dad pulled me aside and said quietly, "If you want to leave town, we'll help. No strings. No questions. Just leave." That same week, my manager pulled me into his office. Said someone had expressed concerns about Jonah's well-being. I asked who. He didn't know. It was vague, anonymous. That was enough. I filed a report with HR detailing everything. Gave them copies of our legal documentation and requested a flag on any inquiries about me or my family. That night, Emily sat across from me at the kitchen table and said, "I think I'm scared to go out alone." She wasn't being dramatic. She wasn't being weak. She was being real. The next day, Sable showed up again, but not at our home. At a local cafe Emily liked to visit during Jonah's naps. Emily spotted her reflection in the cafe's glass door before Sable even said a word. She left her coffee on the table and walked out. Sable followed her down the street crying. Emily didn't look back. When she got home, she didn't cry. She didn't rant. She just handed me the scarf she dropped during the walk and went straight to the bedroom. That night, our lawyer issued a formal no-contact warning. The line had been crossed too many times. No more family. No more reasoning. No more let's talk. This was now about protection. What none of us expected next was the bear. It arrived 3 days after the no-contact order. No return address. No sender name. Just a medium-sized cardboard box left on our front steps. Inside was a layer of pastel tissue paper, and resting on top of it, like some twisted gift, was a small brown teddy bear. Natalie nearly missed it. She'd been grabbing groceries from the porch when she noticed the box and brought it inside. "Probably from one of your cousins," she muttered, tearing the tissue open. Then she paused. "Jason," she said slowly. "This looks weird." She held the bear up. Something inside shifted with a mechanical click. She frowned. then turned it toward the window. That's when we saw it. A glint of red. A tiny, blinking lens embedded behind the glossy plastic pupil. A camera. She placed it down gently like it was a landmine. We called the police. 2 officers came within the hour. One of them sealed the bear in a clear evidence bag. The other took photos of the packaging and asked us to walk him through everything. Names, dates, past incidents. We gave them everything. And then we gave it to our lawyer. He added it to our expanding file. Evidence of stalking, intent to surveil, and psychological coercion. The moment the officers left, I installed 4 new motion detection cameras, 1 at each door, each window, linked to encrypted cloud storage. I gave access to our attorney and a local detective he trusted. This wasn't paranoia anymore. It was defense. And still, Natalie wasn't okay. She hadn't smiled in days, not really. When Jonah would laugh during bath time or stumble through the living room with his hands out, she'd force one, but it wouldn't hold. Her eyes always drifted back to the windows. She stopped opening the curtains. She double-checked the locks twice every night. That's when I remembered something. Years ago, when we were both just 22, her younger brother got in trouble at school. Natalie, not their mom, was the one who drove 2 hours to pick him up. When she got back, she spent the entire night defending him, gently, fiercely, even though he was wrong. She doesn't just love people. She fights for them. That used to be her strength. But now it was devouring her. She couldn't protect Jonah and herself at the same time. So I stepped up. I called the leasing office and requested our address be redacted from all public records and databases. They processed it that same day. From now on, not even mail carriers would see our name attached to the unit. And it still wasn't enough. That Friday, Natalie went to grab a few things from the market a few blocks away. She came back calm but pale, her hands trembling as she placed the bags down. She followed me, she whispered. I didn't have to ask who. My mother. She was standing behind a car, half hidden, just watching. When I turned and started filming, she backed off. Didn't say a word. Just left. We submitted the video to our attorney. 3rd violation since the no-contact letter. He filed a formal protective order the next morning, against my mother, my father, and Brenna. We didn't wait to see what would happen next. We updated our emergency contact list, changed every login, replaced Jonah's daycare with a new facility across town, one that had keycard entry, cameras, and a legal team on retainer. No one from our family was given the address. Still, it kept escalating. A week later, a police officer knocked on our door. Someone reported your child missing, he said plainly. Claimed you'd disappeared, and the baby might be in danger. Natalie clutched Jonah tighter. We let the officer in, handed him every relevant document, restraining orders, daycare paperwork, security footage, incident logs, even a medical report from Jonah's pediatrician showing his healthy development. The officer nodded, thanked us, and on his way out said, I've flagged your address. Any future calls from this source will be handled differently. Then he added, you should consider filing for full restraining orders. This isn't just harassment. This is targeted. And just when we thought that had to be the final blow, another package arrived. Thicker than before. Official seal. County Court. Brenna had filed for full custody of Jonah. 12 printed pages. She accused us of manipulation. Claimed Natalie had promised her the baby during pregnancy. Accused me of being emotionally unstable, easily dominated. Included letters from distant relatives claiming Brenna was the child's true mother by spirit. I took the papers to our lawyer. He didn't flinch. Instead, he turned to me, flipped open a legal pad, and said, Good. Now we go to war. Court began on a rainy Thursday in mid-July. Thick air, gray skies, and that bone-deep kind of tension you feel before a fight, even when no one's thrown a punch yet. Natalie sat next to me in the courtroom, gripping a black pen like it was the only thing keeping her upright. She hadn't spoken more than 5 words all morning. I think the adrenaline was the only thing holding her together. Across the aisle, Brenna sat perfectly still, dressed in soft pink like she was attending a christening. My parents sat directly behind her, stone-faced and silent, like they'd rehearsed the whole performance. No one looked our way, not even once. The judge opened with a low, steady voice. We are here to address Ms. Brenna Parker's petition for joint, or in alternate terms, full, custody of Jonah Lewis James, currently in the physical care of his biological parents. Mr. Jason James, and Ms. Natalie Edwards. He glanced at the thick folders each legal team had submitted. Brenna's petition was 12 pages long and stacked with affidavits from distant relatives, claims of a verbal co-parenting agreement, and even a timeline of emotional involvement dating back to Jonah's birth. Our attorney stood, calm and steady. We categorically deny the petitioner's claims. Our documentation includes multiple violations of a no-contact directive, a confirmed stalking incident, and police reports involving surveillance placed in the child's home without consent. That got the judge's attention. He asked us to proceed with evidence presentation. We started with the small things, dated emails, texts, surveillance screenshots from our home cameras. Then came the big ones. The police report on the teddy bear with the embedded camera, photos of my mother following Natalie near the market, and the official daycare logs confirming unauthorized visit attempts. Every piece added weight to our story. And then came the testimony. But not from us, from someone I hadn't expected to speak again. Dr. Haley Moreno, Natalie's therapist during postpartum recovery. She took the witness stand with calm precision and held up a sealed folder. Inside were Natalie's therapy notes, including a signed and notarized letter Natalie had written 6 months ago, a proactive measure in case things ever escalated. Dr. Moreno opened the letter and read aloud. I'm terrified. Jason's family acts like I don't exist. His sister whispers things like, "You were meant for me," when she holds Jonah. I'm scared someone's going to take him. I lock the door even when Jason's home. There was a silence so sharp it rang in my ears. The judge leaned forward. Dr. Moreno, in your professional opinion, do these notes reflect delusional thinking or legitimate fear? Legitimate, she answered immediately. These are the words of a new mother being gaslit and undermined by a family member she can't escape. It's classic coercive manipulation, not paranoia. Brenna's lawyer objected. Speculative. Sustained, the judge said, but he didn't look away from Dr. Moreno as she stepped down. Next, our attorney called a final witness, the director of Jonah's daycare. She stood with a folder in hand, confirming her credentials, and testified. Ms. Parker attempted to gain access to Jonah twice, once using a false last name, another time claiming she had authorization from the parents, which she did not. We refused both entries and documented each incident internally, then advised the family to escalate the situation legally. That's when Brenna's expression changed. She looked exposed, not panicked, but stripped of the polished control she always carried. Her leg began to bounce beneath the table. Then came the cross-examination. Our lawyer didn't ask about paperwork. He asked about motive. Ms. Parker, he began gently, why do you believe you're entitled to custody of Jonah? Brenna sat up straighter. Because I've been part of his life from the beginning. Because I love him. Because Natalie, she didn't even want a baby. And how do you know that? She told me. Before he was born. She was afraid. She said it felt like too much. Like she couldn't do it. Did she ever ask you to be Jonah's legal guardian? No, Brenna admitted. But it was clear. I helped plan his nursery. I was the one who held him first. I was there more than anyone. So you decided that made you a parent? Brenna snapped. I was promised this child. Jason and Natalie didn't deserve him. They were irresponsible. I've done everything right. Everything. It landed like a bomb. The courtroom murmured. The judge rapped his gavel once. That's enough. He scribbled something in his notes, then looked up slowly. Ms. Parker, he said, you've demonstrated a pattern of boundary violations, an inability to differentiate emotional desire from legal right, and a tendency toward possessive delusion that does not serve the interest of the child. He paused, then added, I am ordering a full psychological evaluation before any further consideration of custody. Until that is completed, your petition is denied. It was quiet when we left the courtroom. Natalie and I didn't say anything. But when we reached the sidewalk, she exhaled and whispered, She's not going to stop, is she? No, I said, but we're ahead of her now. And then, just as we were getting into the car, our lawyer called. Jason, he said, something was just delivered to my office. A new filing? No, he said. A letter. From Brenna? No, from someone else. There was a pause. It's anonymous. Mailed from 3 towns over. And you're going to want to read it. Because it says she's done this before. The letter came in a plain white envelope. No return address. Just our lawyer's name scrawled on the front in thick blue ink. Inside was a single typed page and a scanned court docket number from Pierce County. The letter read, "You don't know me, but I knew your sister. 6 years ago, she was my closest friend until I asked her to watch my 6-week-old daughter overnight. When I came to pick her up, Brenna told me I wasn't fit to be a mother, that she wasn't giving her back. She claimed I had postpartum depression and that my child was safer with her. It took police intervention and a temporary custody hearing to get my daughter returned. Brenna never faced charges. I was afraid, ashamed. I moved across the state. But when I saw her name in the news, and yours, I knew I couldn't stay silent." It was signed only, L. Prescott. We gave the letter to our lawyer. Within hours, he found the case record. Juvenile case 14-75329P, sealed for privacy, but the incident was logged. Emergency petition, temporary custody transfer, and subsequent return to the biological mother after psychological evaluation. The judge in our case granted an emergency motion to review the sealed material. Once verified, it was admitted into evidence. 2 weeks later, we were back in court. This time, Brenna had no prepared statements, no performative outfit. My parents weren't with her. She sat alone. Our attorney moved first. He read excerpts from the sealed court file, language that mirrored our experience word for word. She insisted the child called her mommy, refused to return the infant without a judge's intervention, convinced mutual acquaintances the mother was unstable. The judge turned to Brenna. "Ms. Parker, were you the subject of this custody dispute?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Yes, but that woman was sick. I was trying to help." He pressed. "Did the court find her unfit?" "No," she admitted, "but I was trying to prevent harm." Next, Lana Prescott took the stand. She confirmed the events. Her voice was even, but the emotion showed in her hands, twisting a tissue, knuckles white. "I never spoke out," she said. "But when I saw this happening again, I couldn't let another mother go through what I did." She looked over at us. "You're not the first." I didn't expect Natalie to speak. We hadn't planned it. But she stood, asked the judge if she could say something. He allowed it. She walked slowly to the front of the courtroom, turned to face Brenna. "When I had Jonah, I was scared," she said. "But I was never weak. I never gave him up. And I never promised him to you." Her voice didn't shake. "You thought love meant possession. But being family means knowing when to step back. You crossed that line. Again." Then she looked at the judge. "She won't stop on her own. Someone has to stop her." The judge took a deep breath, glanced between the attorneys, and said, "I've reviewed all evidence, including the prior sealed record, submitted letters, daycare incidents, police reports, and professional evaluations. It's the court's position that the petitioner has demonstrated a pattern of obsessive, deceptive, and dangerous behavior toward the minor." He looked directly at Brenna. "I am denying your petition for custody in full. I am also granting the respondent's motion for a permanent restraining order. You are not to contact, approach, or engage with the James family or their child, directly or indirectly, for a minimum of 5 years." Silence. Then, softly, "This hearing is concluded." Brenna didn't move. For a full 10 seconds, she sat there, staring at the bench, as if the verdict hadn't registered. Then she stood up and walked out of the courtroom without looking back. My parents never called again. Natalie and I didn't celebrate. We went home, closed the curtains, and laid down on the floor with Jonah between us. He was playing with a toy bus, making crashing sounds like a tiny demolition driver. Laughing. It felt like the first real sound in weeks. Later that night, while Natalie rocked Jonah to sleep, I opened the mailbox. Inside was another envelope. No return address. Inside, a letter. This time, addressed directly to Jonah. "I know you don't understand now, but one day you will. Your parents tried to erase me, but love doesn't go away. One day, you'll know who I really am. I'll wait." It was signed, Aunt Brenna. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I scanned the letter, emailed it to our attorney, and logged it into the court file. Then I shredded it. Because she doesn't get to narrate his story anymore. We do.